Well, hello and welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show, where I am delighted that my special guest is none other than one of the most prolific rock and roll stars of the last half century, the fabulous Suzi Quatro. How are you doing, Suzi?
I'm doing great, thank you. I'm
You're...
just, I'm a happy bunny. I'm a happy bunny.
Oh, good. What's made you so happy?
The reaction to the single and the video. I mean, when people go nuts, so and you think, I put all that in and I'm getting it all back. Is that great? Is that great? Yeah.
It's so rewarding. The Devil in Me. I love the single. We're going to talk about that. Well, last time we saw you was just before Christmas. You'd recovered from COVID.
Yeah.
Terrible experience which you got on the 8th of November. Reiner, I think, was about to go and have an eye operation. How did that go?
That went fine. Then he found out after that he had a little bit of skin cancer here, so they took that out. So we've had a wonderful time of it. He's coming over hopefully on the 28th to the 6th of March because it's his birthday on the 3rd. So it's easier right now for him to get here than for anybody living here to get over there. So, but then as soon as I can travel, I'm over there. But I've had my injection, so
Hey.
yeah, all going good.
So it all went, but he didn't make it over for Christmas.
He did.
Oh, he did. Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic.
and I kept saying, because you know my wonderful Christmas song, My Heart and Soul, I Need You Over Christmas, and I'm doing all the interviews, and I kept saying to everybody, I hope that I haven't, predicted something here, that he's not going to be on. I have to play the song for my company. But he got here for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And at the last minute, 3 flights were canceled, and he finally found one into Heathrow. They sent an empty plane over from the UK to Hamburg to get about 20 people to fly them in.
So
Nuts. Yeah.
he's celebrating in style. And was one of the Christmas presents, did he give you another pair of glasses?
That's everybody keeps talking about it because every time I do a Zoom, you see them. But there are 750 here. And I've just been corrected by my husband on the phone. I thought they went back to the 20s, but they only go back to the 40s. So I'm
Well, I was going
mistaken.
to say, because last time we spoke, because obviously the Ray-Bans only started in 1936. That would have been your very first pair,
Yes.
which is good. So,
Well, my collection starts from the 40s, so.
okay.
But it's great all the way up, fantastic, yeah.
What I love, Susie, is your routine every day where you'll work out what outfit you've got on, and then you'll pick the glasses to go with it. So we should start
I'll
with
show you.
what have
Hang
you
on.
got today? Let's have a look.
I'll show you. Hang
Go
on.
on.
Oh, wrong. That's wrong. Hang on. Here I come. Okay.
Oh, this is what I love. It's always these glorious moments when we go off screen. And it is, it's a different pair. I love it. And the great thing about this, I can see myself here. I should get mine on as well. How do these go?
That's not bad. I like the look that goes with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so see, it's good. It's good. They're not Ray-Ban. Those are sort of Gucci, but we love that sort of stuff. And I'll tell you what. As you come back, one of the interesting things, and you've mentioned this in all the interviews, they always talk about the new specs appeal because your spectacles are everywhere. But nobody's yet picked up on the fact and the connection with your family and your grandfather of Italian descent
Yeah.
who came over. Nobody's picked it up. So this is an Andrew Eborn Show exclusive because your father's name before it got shortened to Quattro was
That one, my grandfather's name was
grandfather.
Michele Quattrocchi. Michele Quattrocchi. It means four eyes. And like what happened to a lot of immigrants coming into America, he's about 9, I think, when he came over. They just took one look at his name and they went chop. And so he entered America as Michael Quattro. So that was the original family name. My mother, of course, was Hungarian. Her name was Zanisloi. Ilona Otila Zanisloi. What a mouthful, eh? So that was the original. So I'm half Italian, half Hungarian.
Fantastic. But that sort of diversity has sort of shared itself through lots of your sort of side. But I love the fact that your grandfather was saying it was to four eyes or bespectacled, and you've now got almost 800 pairs of the thing. So I think that's good.
Four eyes, yeah. That's funny. Quattrocchi.
But it was your
And he
father.
talking like that. He never lost his accent. He was in America talking like that. And we say, Grandpa, we can't understand you. What do you say? I'm not talking like that. I don't know why you say. Susanna, why don't you shut up?
Extraordinary. But he came over, and he was very young when he came over. He was 9 years old, as you say. What brought him over?
I think they had some relatives who had already come over. Some older brothers had come over. And so his family, you know, like a lot of families in Europe did at that time, go to the golden dream of America, da 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 da. And he never saw my dad alive again. Yeah, that's pretty sad. But he made it, you know, he ended up, what a man. He's my favorite relative. He eventually married very young, and he went into the coal mining, first of all. And he said he used to have my dad strapped on the back, and him and my grandma would walk to the next mining job. You can't imagine it, can you? You can't imagine it. They ended up in Detroit work factory. So, as you do.
As you do. And I guess that whole sort of work ethic, because from your father, Art, I mean, he worked incredibly hard, didn't he? He was an engineer at General Motors and would get up really early, 5 o'clock in the morning, finish at midnight. Is that where, I mean, you got your own work ethic from your father, didn't you?
I think I got my work ethic and my professionalism from my dad, ingrained in me. It's in my body. When he saw that I was really serious, like when I joined the band, and he saw I was going that way, and he took me aside, and he said something to me that I've lived by my entire career. He said, one thing I want to tell you, he said, when you go on that stage, it doesn't matter if there's 10 people to 10,000. Every single person has took money out of their pocket and paid to see you, and you owe them. I'm still like that today. Yeah. If I see one person, it could be 10,000. If I see one person not smiling, I'll find him. So I give everything. My father taught me that. He said, if you don't go up there and give everything you got, then you shouldn't be up there at all. It's your job to entertain, to give a piece of your soul. So that's what I do.
Yeah, and it was a big musical family as well. You say you get your work ethic from your father, but your heart from your mother. And she was an extraordinary woman. I mean, 5 children of her own. She sadly had 3 miscarriages, but also it didn't stop there. She then would take on adopted children as well, about 9 of those as well. Incredible woman.
She was a mother. That's all I can. You'd maybe drop your clothes for the day, and a couple hours later, it was full chair. You could eat off the kitchen floor. Her whole life was work, but she was she's my heart. I just loved my mom. The whole song, The Devil in Me, is stuff she said to me. Yeah. You know, she always said to me, you're an angel, Susan, until your halo slips and it becomes a noose. And I thought, that's a good line. Unfortunately, it slips a lot, you know. But no, she was a very, very good Catholic woman. She gave me certainly the tracks to run on for the rest of my life. Even, you know, none of us are angels. Even if you go a little bit this way, you know the tracks. And everybody that knew her, including ex-boyfriends, ex-husbands, friends of mine from way back when, friends now, even Mickey Mouse widow, they all talk about her in these. You've never seen anything like, oh, your mother. And one time, Mickey Mouse widow, we were out for dinner. And I said, Chris, you're always talking about how wonderful my mother is. Can you tell me why? Right. And she sat quiet for a minute. She went, she was the most decent woman I ever met. Oh, that teared me up a little bit. That she was decent. Decent. Yeah, and not many people like that, you know?
And it grounds you, doesn't it? I mean, people talk about your sort of attitude to life, and they always say, it's Socrates, wasn't he? Nothing goes wrong with a bit of Socrates. Give me a child until the age of 7, and I'll show you the man or the adults. I mean, you work on that sort of basis. And your upbringing, you were the 4th of 5 children. And as the 4th, I have 4 of us, basically. I have 3 siblings. And I know, I'm number 3 in it. I know you have to fight, don't you? You have to fight for your voice to be heard.
Absolutely, and I sure made up for it now, didn't I? But I knew very young, I was a square peg in a round hole. I knew it. I loved my family, you know, don't get me wrong, we're all really close and everything, but I just didn't fit in. I was just different. I couldn't tell you how I was different. I was just different. And I needed to find my voice. Yes, absolutely. I didn't like to be just one of the kids. No, not enough for me. I needed to be Suzi.
Yeah.
And that's why I am so uncompromising with me, with anybody. I'll give anybody anything, you know. I'm talk your problems over with you. I'll give you my heart and my soul, but don't compromise me.
Yeah.
No, well, ain't gonna happen.
And it certainly runs through lots of your lyrics and things like that. You say, look, nobody's going to get my soul. This is, and even the advice that you give to people when you received your doctorate from the University of Cambridge, the Anglia Ruskin, was, you know, there's that little light you've got to search for that little light and make sure you switch that on. If that's your search. I love, because that defines, and I've listened to so many different interviews where that's what's come through. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, it's how I feel. I when I went up to make that speech and I had my paper there, because, you know, I'm in front of all the academics, didn't even graduate, and I just put my speech over there, and I just spoke. Yeah. And what I said, the important thing, besides going in and finding your light, is once you find it, don't let anybody switch it off. That's the important part.
Yeah. And you always say that as well when you're talking about relationships, and you've had, like most people, it's a roller coaster of emotion. That's your life. I think that's fair to say. But you've been together with Rainer for, several years. For the anniversary was the last time you saw him before Christmas. But you live separately as well, though. Munich and Essex. Is that the secret to a good marriage?
Well, I had the 24/7 with my ex. You know, we worked together and lived together in the same house. This one I took a little while to get used to that. And then once I did, it's marvelous. Not during the pandemic, because before the pandemic, we had a choice. I'm going to come there now for a couple, you come here. And now it's like we can't. So that's different. But it's been 27 years. It's worked. He's the one that doesn't like it now. I love it. He's completely changed. Wow. It was me that did it.
Because normally what would happen, Suzi, is that you would go on tour. He was obviously his promoter, very famous promoter, does that sort of stuff. And you'd be on tour together. So even though you'll be in Essex and he'll be in Munich, and you'll do that sort of stuff, you might get together every now and again. What happens is that when you're on tour, you're together, and it's those glorious moments. That must have been really difficult for the last several months.
Oh, really hard, because we're not seeing each other hardly at all. 5 months last year and 2 months now. So, but that touring together only started after he finished his own promoting business. He's a promoter. So once he stopped putting out his own shows, then he more concentrated on me, and he started to come with me. But before, he didn't. But it still worked. You know, we'd go a week apart, 2 weeks apart maximum, and then either I go there, he comes here. But now it's a forced situation, and we both hate it. Thank God for Skype.
Oh, absolutely. And that creativity, and thank God for having a studio at home where you work with your son, Richard. And
that was lucky.
Brilliant. Brilliant stuff, because you haven't stopped being creative and you're entertaining. We talk about being a child to the age of 7. Well, you actually wrote, you weren't sure what sort of side of the profession you were going to get into, whether it's going to be singing or a comedian at one stage, and you wrote to Red, of all people, Red Skelton. Tell us about that.
Still makes me laugh. I did my one-woman show on Zipped on stage, and I told the story because it's so funny. I wanted to acting, comedian, anything. I wanted to entertain. And I was about 7 or 8, and I wrote to Red Skelton, he's a big famous American comedian. And I said, "Dear Red," dear Red, not even Mr. Skelton, "Dear Red, I'm very funny, and I think you should hire me for your show. Love, Suzi Quatro." And he never wrote back. My first rejection.
No red letter day for you. What a shame. Outrageous. You know, at least he could have
do that. I know, just crazy.
But it didn't put you off because at an early age you were piano, you did percussion as well. But you set your sights very high because you wanted to play the bongos, didn't you? It was on a wish list. And I think you discovered one Christmas. You were searching for what you assumed was your Christmas present. Tell us about that.
That's a good story. I had asked my dad for some bongo drums, and because I wanted to be a beatnik and read poetry and do all that. See, I told you I was always strange, just unusual. Yeah. And about a week before Christmas, I started to search for Christmas presents, like you do. And I went into his closet, and I saw it was beautiful. beautiful, brand new pair of beautiful bongo drums. And I am very honest. My mom always told me when I was little, don't even try to lie because your face shows everything. So I don't lie. And I went up to my dad and I went, Dad, I saw my Christmas present. And he went, what? And he said, what? He said, do you mean those bongos in my closet? And I said, yeah.
$200 worth.
Yeah. He said, do you really think I would give a $200 set of bongo drums to a little 7-year-old girl? And I went, oh. And I totally believed him. And then at Christmas, I opened up and there they were. It's brilliant. Brilliant way to give me a gift.
Not only that, and it's great because a lot of parents try to dissuade their children from getting into bands. Your parents are really encouraging. In fact, you went on to perform with your father's band. Tell me about that.
Well, he used to take me sometimes. My mother didn't even know it before she passed away. He was supposed to drop me at church. See, the seeds are sown very young. So he would let me come on a Sunday sometimes with him to his Sunday gig. And he let me play the bongos in front of the band, his little trio, and I played Mac the Knife, and I got 25 cents.
Glorious. But it's not just 25 cents for Mac the Knife. It's the feeling of a crowd and getting that taste for being in front of an audience. How did that feel?
Oh, it was just always so natural for me. You know, we did 5 kids, and we all play 3 or 4 instruments. It's not a big deal. We just do. That's how we grew up. And we always did family shows. I would sometimes do a sketch. I'd sometimes play the piano. Whatever I did, each person would do something. Sometimes we'd do a duet with my sister and da-da-da-da-da. But I noticed very, very young that whenever I did my piece, whatever it might be, everybody went and stopped and watched. So that translates in your little young brain, not ego, but that you can hold an audience that goes in. And I always used to think, I'm good at this. I have a talent for the. You know you have something that makes people stop. And I've always had that. My dad always said that. Even as a young kid, I had the charisma. People would watch. So you put that in your arsenal. You know you've got that, and that's what you develop. It's a natural thing. Nobody can give that to you. Nobody can teach it to you. Yeah. It's just something that comes out. I guess I'm watchable.
Yeah. Oh no, without a doubt, and it's that sort of spirit and that sort of vibe is the best way of putting it. Because, as you say, and you've done a lot of acting yourself. Unless you've got that vibe, it's not right, is it?
No, it's not right. And my dad had that. He had charisma. You know, even when I went in the first band, and I was 14. And we stood up on that stage the first time with my bass guitar, and we knew 3 songs, 3 chords. And I remember standing up there and thinking, I'm home. I'm home. And about a year into the band being together, 1.5 years, my eldest sister joined on keyboards, and her husband started to manage the band. And after about a month of him managing the band, we were at a gig. And he announced, as we were setting up the equipment, we didn't have roadies back then, he announced to the band, horrible for me, really. He said, you all realize, of course, that we have to put most of the lights on Suzi. And I'm going, how to make friends and influence people. I didn't ask him for that, but he said it.
Well, I do know, Suzi, as I say, coming from a family of 4, that if you're the one they put the spotlight on, it causes all sorts of other issues, and it's it's going back. I mean, and going back just a little bit before that, because it was the Ed Sullivan Show, I think, which also acted as a sort of helpful catalyst when you first saw Elvis in 1956. And I was trying to work out, because you've talked about this in various other interviews, was it the very first performance Elvis did? Because he did 3 performances on this. I think
he did Don't Be Cool. I believe it was his first performance.
And I'll tell you why, because Ed Sullivan wasn't hosting on the first one because he'd been in an accident.
Oh, well, then it would have been in the second one then.
Because Charles Lawton did that one. Yeah. And then so that would have been September the 9th, I think it was October the 28th, 1956. You were still 6 years old.
I'm still 6 years old.
Yeah, we'll forgive you a couple of months. It's okay.
Yeah, amazing. I was, it was a pivotal moment in my life, because we all watched the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
Families gathered, and at the end of every show, he would put it on, as he used to say, he used to go, no, something for the youngsters. He used to do it like that. And My elder sister by 9 years, so she's 14, 15, just exactly the right age, she starts to scream. Elvis comes on doing Don't Be Cool. She's screaming. And I remember looking at her and going, why are you screaming? You know, it was confusing to me. Then I turned and looked in the camera on the TV. And I was drawn in, like hypnotized, drawn in like that, watching him. And I went, in my little head, I went, I'm going to do that. That age.
Yeah.
It went in and it stayed. I'm going to do that. And he's been on my shoulder my entire career. My entire career. In fact, I won't bother you. There's so many of them. There's like 9 or 10 epiphanies. But one of the ones that really hit me hard was when I did Singing with Angels, my tribute. And I recorded it in Nashville with James Burton.
And the Jordanaires, come on.
Give me a break. Anyway.
Loved it.
Really. And we were outside on a break from recording. And I played James about 5 or 6 of the tracks from my new album.
Yeah.
He had headphones in. And he looked at me and he said, boy, oh boy, you got what Elvis had. I went, I didn't even care if he meant it. He said, and then he said, I said, what? He said, well, the only way I can explain it is that whatever you do is you. Yeah. What a compliment.
Oh, fantastic. But even better than that compliment was from Elvis himself, who, as things would have it, saw your poster, heard your version, and tried to get you to come to Graceland, but you turned him down.
I did. I wasn't ready. Wasn't scared. I wasn't ready. I thought it was premature. I thought I'll meet him next year. I'd had like 3 hits. Meet him, but he called me and said, his people called first and then he got on, you could have knocked me over with a feather. And he said, I've heard your version of All Shook Up and it's the best since my own. And I'd like you to come to Graceland. And I think I said something like, I'm very busy. But you know what? I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I think if I would have met him, I wouldn't have written Singing with Angels because I wouldn't have had that spiritual feel about him. Because I would have met him. It would have taken that awe away. So I wasn't supposed to meet him. He was supposed to guide me. Yeah. Even the day I got, when I went to Los Angeles, my son just showed up at the window, scared me.
Bring it in, Richard. It's going to be good. He can talk about this as well. Fantastic. He can come in and chat to us. We love that.
He can do.
Be brilliant. Yeah, come on. That's all waving.
Did you see?
It's great because you get to see.
Did you see the mother look?
Oh, yeah, I love it. He was scared that I think everybody came running then. That was directly from because your mother was quite a disciplinarian, wasn't she? She would keep you under control, which was good.
Richard?
I'm not. What?
He just wanted to say a few words.
Say hi, Richard.
No,
he's got something to do. Okay.
It's okay. We'll see him another time.
See you another time. Okay. All right. So what were we talking about?
We were talking about Elvis before Richard. We talked about Elvis and the influence and spirituality and how that's important for you.
Yeah. When I went to LA to audition for Happy Days, and I went in there, met everybody, read for the part, and they said to me, "Okay, now we need to discuss you. So go back to the hotel. We'll call you." So I went back to the hotel, switched on the television, waiting for the phone to ring, like that, and the phone rings. And they said, well, not only do we want you for the 2-parter, we want you for 3 seasons. And I went, fantastic. And right then, the TV said, newsflash, the king is dead. Yeah. Now, you cannot write stuff like that. So he's been here the whole time. And then when I got back 3 months later to film the first episode, they said, here, Suzi would like you to meet somebody. His name is Nudie. I shook his hand. They said, he's going to be making your clothes for the series. He was Elvis's personal tailor. Now, you see, I wasn't supposed to meet him, but I've met everybody around him. I know all of his inner circle, and James especially. But so there you go. Everything happens as it should.
I know,
He's
and
Spider-Man.
spirituality, it's been a really important part of your life with your Catholic upbringing
It
and
has.
so forth.
Yeah.
And we'll speak about some of those experiences as well. But the other big thing, again, was the Ed Sullivan Show, was when you saw in, that was the Beatles for the first time. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we were on. They did. I saw her standing there. That was from the first album, Meet the Beatles. It was called in America. And again, we were all watching. And again, we all got excited, and we went to the phones. My elder sister Patti, me. We called up our two friends, Nana Mary Lou Ball, and Diane on another phone. So we had everybody was on phones, and we were all oohing and eyeing over the Beatles. And my sister Patti said, "Hey, why don't we form an all-girl band?" And we all went, "Oh, great idea." I honestly didn't care about girls because I'm not a gender person, but I wanted to be in a band. That was great. And everybody picked an instrument real quick. I'm playing rhythm. I'll play piano. I'll play. And I went, "Hello? What am I going to play?" And my sister Patti said, "You're going to play bass." I said, "Okay." I already played percussion and piano. I read and write and learn, and I asked my dad, did he have a bass guitar for me to borrow? And he gave me, for my first bass, I
Oh,
make musicians green. Musicians go green with envy. I got given a 1957 Fender Precision gold scratch plate striped down the back of the neck, sunburst finish, the Rolls Royce of bass guitars, my bass. I didn't know there were smaller basses. I had no idea. My dad said, "Here you go." I said, "Fine, this is what I play." Can you believe that?
yeah, absolutely. And well, it's your size, it's your weight, it's now above your mantelpiece, isn't it?
Yes, I still have it hanging by the fireplace there. Yeah.
But what an instrument to start on the 1957. You're right, musicians would be green with envy. And not only that, playing the bass, because it was the revolution, if you like. People need to put it in perspective, because not
Yes.
only were there no women playing rock and roll, and you've always,
No.
as you say, gender is irrelevant, but to put it in context, you were the first one carrying a bass, playing an instrument on stage at an extraordinary time. You picked the name The Pleasure Seekers, but that wasn't your first choice. You talked about hedonists, first of all.
Yeah, hedonist. Yeah. We quite like that. We looked it up in the dictionary. Somebody said hedonist. We went, and we looked it up, and it said to seek pleasure. And we went, boing, 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 pleasure seekers. We had the name. Yeah. It was great. I was Susie Soul in that band.
Yeah.
A lot of Otis Redding and everything. Yeah.
And Patti Pleasure, wasn't it?
Patti Pleasure. She later got the nickname of Gestapo. Everybody called her that. She wasn't happy with that, but
Right. No, I can imagine. It was, but tell me that, because you had a few records. You went on to get a good signing as well. What was life like in those days, as sort of family unit? Because being on the road can be quite stressful anyway. When that sort
yeah.
of sibling rivalry is there as well, and put the spotlight on Susie. How did that make you feel?
Well, first of all, it was cocooned in a way because I had my sisters with me, and the husband was managing, and we became a show band. Because
It's cabaret and that sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah, well, we had to do shows because we were girls and we brought the customers in, and so we did like a Motown set, a Beatles set, this set. We did all five shows a night, and I was on the road. I was supposed to go back to school. And I called my dad from New York, sitting on the hotel bed. And I always remember that. My mom got on the extension, another pivotal moment of my life. And I said, "Dad, I think I found what I want to do for the rest of my life. I don't want to come back and finish school." There was a silence. And then he just said, "Susie, is there anything I can say to change your mind?" I said, "No." And he quietly put the phone down. Psychologically, that's very clever, because what it felt like he did was he cut my lifeline. So it was a real sitting there, maybe 15, 20 minutes I sat there, and then I went, yep, and I'd made up my mind. But he gave me pause for thought, which is good, because this is serious stuff. I mean, you're giving up your education.
So when you paused for thought, though, did it obviously didn't change your mind? Did you think he was approving or disapproving?
I think he was making me think about it.
Right.
Because like he always said, this is a profession, you know, and you have to be professional. So he was making sure it's what I really wanted. I didn't look back. I've now been in the business 57 years.
Oh, no, absolutely. So, and every day, but each of these is sort of the building block for the next stage of your career. And even as you say, singing for 57 years probably helped you with COVID, because those lungs running on stage, performing for 2 hours, all that sort of stuff.
I think it did. I said that to the doctor, wondering if I sounded a bit stupid. I said, could that have anything to do with it? He said, let's put it this way. He said, the COVID virus probably had a hard time grabbing hold of your lungs. Really, that's all I've ever done.
Yeah.
I'm like an athlete, really, aren't I?
Oh,
you know, that bass, the bass weighs more than I do. I'm in a hot leather suit under the hot lights and jogging and singing and running and playing. So yeah, what a workout. Yeah. 2 hours.
Absolutely. And you keep on running. I mean, your mother always used to ask you, where are you running to?
She always said that. She one time said to me, why don't you go chase yourself around the block?
What a great phrase. I love it.
Yeah. I tried. I tried to catch myself too, but I couldn't. No. Yeah, I've always been one of those. Too much energy. Not too much, but a lot. I have a lot. I still have it now. You can see a
positive thing, isn't it? Because you, as you say, it's that vibe. It's that sort of unreleased thing where you're like a coiled spring. So yeah, that's why during these times, when you're normally performing, 100 concerts had to be cancelled. It must have been really tough. But you're getting we almost saw Richard, we might get him in a bit later, but you worked on that sort of base where you can turn those creative juices. But working, first of all, taking you back to the Pleasure Seekers, you had relative success. You performed a lot, 45-minute set, lots of those every night, because that's what you did in cabaret world. And people say, oh, it's so tough doing a gig. You were doing several a night, several for weekends. That's the nature of the business. You changed your name to Cradle. Why was that?
Well, we did a gig. One of my brother turned to promoting. He's a fine musician, but he started to promote festivals way back in the early days, in late 60s. And we played as the Pleasure Seekers on one of his big festivals. And we had been cocooned in show business land, you know. We were a show band. So there we were doing our show band set in front of a festival crowd. And for the first time ever, we didn't go down very well. So we had a big band meeting, and we decided that we needed to change things up. And we're going to leave the clubs, start doing more these kind of shows, become a heavier band, write our own equipment, and bring my little sister in, because she was from that era. And she, very, very good voice, and let her be the lead singer for a while. So I kind of stepped back. And so my light, they tried to hide my light, but they couldn't.
Big mistake. If anybody knows anything about Suzi, if you know Suzi like I know Suzi, don't try and hide her light.
I will not be ignored. And Mickey came to see that band. I did about 3 or 4 songs a night. That's all. Nancy did the main thing. So I got really good at my bass. In that 18 months or 2 years, however long it was, I became really good because I was mainly playing. Mickey came to see that band. Elektra Records came.
Mickey, your brother, brought Mickey Most along, didn't he?
Yes, Mickey Most, yeah. And first of all, Elektra had seen that band, and they offered me a solo contract. That same week, Mickey Most came to Detroit with Jeff Beck to record at Motown. Jeff Beck and Cozy Powell. He saw the band, and he only saw me.
Yeah.
So you can't hide the light.
Yeah.
You can't hide it.
And that was the difference. I mean, it is extraordinary. You say about everything coming at once. Then 2 offers, effectively, because Elektra saw you and loved you and wanted to make you the next Janis Joplin. So, I'll be the next Janis Joplin. And your voice is saying it all. Mickey said, I want to make you the first Suzi Quatro. You can be you. That's not a difficult decision.
It's not a difficult decision. I knew Mickey was the right guy. He saw me. And the funniest part is he called his wife, which I didn't know till a few years after I got here. Called his wife after seeing me. And he said, it's kind of funny. He said, I found it. At last, I found it. And she said, what? He said, I don't know, but I found it. He didn't know what I was. He said, unique. He said to me, I saw you. You stood out like a beacon. Didn't like the band at all. I went up and did 2 songs. That's all. I did the one I wrote called Brain Confusion and Jailhouse Rock. And I came off the stage and he went like this.
Yeah. And it's very, very tempting. But before you went with him to London, 1971, one, he brought you over here. But before you went there, let's go back to your spiritual side. You went and spoke to a clairvoyant and you asked her, Mrs. Beardsley, wasn't it? You asked her about...
Oh my God, I wish I could find that. I lost it in my travels. I had the tablet that she wrote on because she's just this old grandmother lady. So you have to take her serious. She's just one of the, she's not anything strange. And a friend of mine said, come and see this lady. She's really good. So I went. And she just goes into this little sort of trance. And she just writes. And then she tells you what she's written. And she said, she told me lots of things about my family that I didn't know. Names and stuff I wasn't aware of that my mother confirmed. Somebody's here, this one's here, this one's here. And my parents even went to her. And she said to me, you're going to be going to England. And I kind of went, yeah, right. But I did. And she told me your first car was going to be a blue sports car. And it was a blue Mercedes.
Yeah.
So I did have the pad. I don't know what happened to it. But even the roses. She said, I see roses. Big success with roses. Oh, I always wondered what that was. Wow. Because the new video has roses and my face in the middle of it. Wow. I never knew. That's another one that just came true.
And she also said about the number 5.
Yes.
When you went back to your old house.
Yes.
And you took a picture. Not all your sisters were there, but you took a picture. And there was an extra image in the photograph when it was developed.
But nobody can explain this. Nobody can explain it. We went around, and now I can't find that picture. Anyway, we went around to the back of the house because nobody was there. We knocked on the doors. They usually let us in. I had a whole bus there. It was my 60th birthday. Yeah. We went around to the back where my dad had built a little porch with a glass in that we could sleep in the summer. And we took a picture of all of us against the window. And when my sister developed the picture, there was my mother's image to the side with her earrings on. And I just went, what? How did that happen? How did that happen? I mean, I've showed it to a lot of people. I've shown it to people and not told them anything. I showed it to my nephew. I said, what do you see here? And he went, oh, there's Grandma. Crazy. How does that happen? Wow.
It's and that sort of, and you've had some, I mean, you say that the place you have in Essex is haunted. You've got a few ghosts there. And we mentioned Janis Joplin beforehand, a particularly scary episode when...
Yes, I won't do that again.
Went to a seance and tried to contact Janis Joplin.
Yeah, we were bored and being silly, and it got serious, and we shouldn't have done it. I won't do that again. You don't play with these things, but we were all sitting around, on the ground and being stupid and bored. And, let's call somebody. Let's call Janis. And you could, the whole atmosphere in the room changed. I didn't like it. Somebody was holding a Bible. I don't know why. And just as you could feel something, and I didn't think it was Janis, it felt like something not good coming into the room, Patti was at the door, and she banged on it, right? And somebody went, and threw the book up in the air, the Bible up in the air, switched the lights on. Somebody said, I can't see. I was crazy. And a page got ripped out of the Bible as the book was thrown in the air, and it said, thou shalt not tamper with the unknown. And I said to Patti, why did you come here? She said, I don't know. I was sitting in my room, and I heard voices going by the room. And so I thought I better come get you guys. So she came down just as you could feel something happening, and she banged on that door. So, no, I won't be doing that again. It was just a silly thing, Everybody does stuff like that. Let's try to do this and that. I didn't realize how serious it is. I won't do that again, no.
But you were genuinely frightened, weren't you? You were genuinely frightened, a very frightening moment.
Yes. I was wondering if we could do that, because I'm quite psychic myself anyway, so I wondered if we could get her to come in, But I think what that does is it draws in, you get a lot of malevolent, maybe that's a heavy word, mischievous energies. So
good and bad. There's yin and yang. There has to be. For every bit of good, there's got to be bad. So
luckily, everything in this house is friendly. I've never been frightened here.
Devil in me. There are those dark moments. You have all of those, and it's recognizing that. You say and you've mentioned this beforehand, that you say that you're psychic. How does that manifest itself?
I've got very, very, very strong intuition. I can read people within 5 seconds. I've already read
Go on,
you,
then.
but
Tell me about me.
I see it all the whole time you've been talking. There's a very, very wounded warrior in you. You've been hurt. And you've been able to almost successfully bury it, but it's in your eyes. So I think a little heartache has come your way. And see, this comes to me. You've now learned the lesson that you had to learn. You've learned it. And I know you haven't thrown it away yet, because that pain of that is very familiar and comfortable to you. You know? Oh yeah, I know how you're there. It's just there. It's almost like a comfort to hold on to it. But it's now time to let it go. You've learned the lesson. Boom. Okay. Did I get it right?
I think that's good advice for everybody. Would that apply to your own life as well, do you think?
Yes, but in a different way.
What would be different?
I tend to, I'm very sensitive.
Yeah. You're a Gemini, so we have lots of things in common with all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Very sensitive. But you did have a heartache. I know it. I see it. Okay. One particular one broke your heart. You nearly never recovered. Okay. And I see it. It's all here. When you read people, it's all here. I tend to I found a way to use my sad moments and make them positive moments by turning them into songs or poems. So I use them. It's hard for me to let go of the childhood things, the resentment of my sister Patti. That's hard for me to let that go, because it's still there. And you need this. You need a lot of it to keep going. You should never forget, but sometimes you have to let it go. I always say emotions, you can't control your emotions. Nobody can. That's why they're emotions. But what you can do is change how you react to your emotions, if that makes sense. You can look at it and say, okay, this makes me feel like this. Okay, I understand why like you can analyze it. But I'm just one of the most sensitive people you ever met in your life. It's ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
But it's great, and as you say, and all of your rich catalogue of songs, you write from the heart. You write from experiences. This is what you've done. You've had a relationship that hasn't worked. That comes out in a song. You have a macho guy. You're right about that. But you also work out that there's a soft side and there's a dark secret, or there's something needing help within all of that sort of side. And these are about individuals. You won't always say who they are. It could be more than one, but it will come out in your work. Is that a fair comment?
Absolutely correct. I don't think I've ever written fiction. I always have to go to me and find my experience of whatever I'm writing about. I'm working on one today. And when the lyrics come, it's like, I get excited, and then it's there, and I put it down, and I go, oh.
Yeah. Isn't that, I mean, we'll come on to the process, but you normally say that you will start with a title, and then
I often do.
Is that right?
Often with a title. Every now and again, it's maybe just a line, but very often it will be a title, and the title will suggest the mood of the song. It will suggest which instrument I should write it on. It's all about the vibe. It's all about getting the vibe. Yeah. I mean, the Devil in Me. Funny one about that. I said it about 6 months ago. I said, "Will the angels guard the devil in me?" And my son said, "Mom, that's the title of the next album." I said, "That is." So I wrote some lyrics, and I kept trying to start a song with these lyrics, and nothing was coming. So I went, okay, put it back in the book. It'll find its place. So the last track on this album, my son showed me this riff. He said, okay, we need one more song. What do you think of this? I said, I like that. Send it to my computer. I came in here. I got my acoustic bass, which is how I work. I play along. And I got my songbook out, flicking through, trying to find either a title or a line that went, bam, this belongs here, right? And the lyrics for The Devil in Me fell out of my book and landed in front of me. As if my mother, because a lot of this, it's about her.
Yeah, absolutely.
As if she had gone, here you are, Susan, here's the words.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, all righty. So, it was really strange how that happened. I mean, they just, I'm flicking through and I went, boom, I went. And then I started to sing these words with the song, perfect.
Right.
Without any problem. It just fit. So that's how creation happens sometimes. It's wonderful.
So it was your mother, Helen. I mean, it's all over the song. It's all over the lyrics and things like that. You're absolutely right about the noose around your neck, your halo slipping. I mean, all these, a glorious line in itself. But you also touched on, and you've been very open and honest. You've done autobiographies. You've had Unzipped. You've got the documentary, which is brilliant. It's going to be a feature film. You've warts and all is what you always say, because you are honesty and integrity at your core. And you mentioned about the difficulties with your siblings, and as I say, similar situations. We can relate. You can tell.
There's always sibling rivalry. This is not some big dark secret. Every family has it. Yeah. It's just when it's something that's been going on the entire time, it gets a little bit tedious. So it's the one sister, the younger one. We now talk fine. We had it out about the documentary because they didn't talk to me for a year.
Yeah, I saw that interview, and you were quite hurt by it. I mean, you were in tears. Yeah. You had your grandson watching the movie, also in tears, and it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, but why? What I couldn't understand, which I did talk to Nancy about it, is how can you agree to do an interview, which I had nothing to do with? I wasn't even in the room.
Yeah.
You've answered the questions, you've said what you want to say, and then be mad at me.
Go figure. Because also the great thing, even though you had editorial control, you wanted to see the final cut, you wanted it to be warts and all, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And I had editing scissors of my documentary, and I promised the director, as long as what is said is true, it's what the person thinks, even if it's a cringe moment, it stays in, and I stuck to that. Yeah. Many, many times I wanted to crawl out of the cinema, believe me. But those are the best moments in the film.
Well, my regret, Suzi, is that I missed it when you were just around the corner and by Regent's Park. And I think you had it at that cinema, one of the premieres. Yeah, just around the corner from us.
First time I saw it with an audience, and oh my God.
On the big screen, and you see yourself, and it's all... But I get what I try to do is this: with any sort of dispute, and there are lots in everybody's life, as you know, it's a roller coaster of emotion. You try and look at it from the other people's point of view.
Sure.
Mickey Most, I get it. Anybody would know. It's not that difficult. Mickey Most didn't want the band. He didn't want the cradle. He wanted the bass player who he was trying to shove at the back, and he wanted to take you and only you to London. How did you break that news to your siblings, and how did they react?
Well, it's a long story. It's been going on since it happened. And there's many different versions, but I believe my brother's version because he's another Gemini and he's also very honest. And it was him that instigated it. Mickey flew him to New York the day after seeing the band, flew my brother to New York. And he told my brother, I don't want the band. I only want Suzi. Now, I know it's a family band, so I don't know how you're going to do this, but, I leave it with you. He said, I don't want to break up a family, but I only want Suzi. Mickey came back and told my dad and Patti and my little sister, and nobody told me.
Right.
So about another 6 months went by of me sending Mickey tapes of the band and calling him sometimes and having a few words with him. Patti kept saying, call him, he likes you, call him. He said, send the tapes. And finally the band started to break up. And I rode my bicycle to my sister's house, my elder sister. She wasn't in the band anymore. And I said, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? This is my whole life. And then she said, call Mickey Most. I said, why? He only wanted you. I said, what? What? So they didn't tell me. That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's morally wrong. And karma comes back. And like I said, I didn't stop anybody from realizing their dreams. I just realized mine. I didn't put brakes on anybody else. This is where I'm going, So anyway, I talked with Nancy Fine. Patty's still having a problem, but I think she always will. we have had a few emails and a semi-conversation, and maybe it'll just ease itself down because they are my family and I do love them.
Well, absolutely, and all families have rifts and difficulties. If Patty's watching now, and everybody watches this show, so she's bound to be watching, what would you say to her?
I love you. And I'm sorry your dream didn't come true. Wow. There you go.
There you go. But it does. It makes you feel quite tearful. I think it is extraordinary. I mean, decision was, however, made. However, everybody found out about it. You came in 1971 to good old England. Hurrah! We love having you here. As you've, even though you're always, your soul is still in Detroit and always will be. You, as you make clear on every occasion, and I get that. 1971, you arrive. You're picked up in a glorious vehicle. Tell us about that.
We were met at the airport. My sister Eileen flew over with me. I think she stayed for about 4 days. And there was a guy standing there, a little mini cab, and he had a sign, Suzi Quatro. Great, the big star, It's funny. A little car, and he took us to a small bedsit in Earl's Court.
Yeah, just up the road, yeah.
A crappy little room. It was. And then Eileen went home, and then I was alone as you can be.
And it's very good because you came from a big family and your parents had really, looking back on it, with so many children, they would have really struggled to give you the best possible lifestyle.
Oh, we had a great lifestyle. Are you kidding? We grew up in a beautiful home. There was a Cadillac in the driveway, so beautiful upbringing. And then all of a sudden there I was in this little tiny room with a bed as big as, like that, tiny little bed, and no bathroom.
Yeah.
The bathroom down the hall, dirty window with the dirty curtains, broken mirror, a sink. So I kind of went, okay. And, every night I would cry myself to sleep. And then in the daytime I would walk with my bass, which weighs more than me, to Oxford Circus and go upstairs and write songs. None of them would have lasted 5 minutes. None of the rest of them. Not 5 minutes.
So it wasn't, people always think it's a rock and roll lifestyle and off you go and you're having the glorious moment. It was miserable is the honest answer to start with, wasn't it?
It's hard work, and you have to be dedicated, determined, and focused.
And Mickey, as you said, and always he even said to his wife, he didn't really know what to do with you. I think creatively, whilst you got on very well, and he was like your father figure in a way, he wasn't right to be the producer for you, was he?
No, he never. I always say Mickey more knew what I wasn't than knowing what I was. Yeah. He knew I was different, and he knew I was androgynous. He said, you'll appeal right across the board. He said, gay, straight, girl, guy, you're going to appeal to everybody. And he kept cutting tracks. I kept writing, but we were not getting anywhere. It wasn't until I formed the band, the English band. I told Mickey I was going nuts. I said, I need to play. And so I got a band together, and he got us an agent. We did the Slade tour. We were doing all my original songs. And so after we came off the Slade tour, the band was a unit. And Mickey then had signed Chin and Chapman. And he said, do you mind if they come along and hear what you do, get the feel of the band, and maybe write you a hit single? And I said, not at all. I was still doing the majority of the writing anyway, so it didn't bother me. And they heard the stuff. I was very boogie. That's what I did. And so they came up with Can They Can.
And it was so quick. And what I love, you mentioned the Slade tour, and Noddy, a great mate, Noddy Holder, who turned on, he said you were one of the few bands, because support bands for Slade, the Slade fans hated support acts.
They did.
They loved you.
They did. Again, there's that light shining. Yeah, they did. Oh, he's back. Okay.
Richard might even come in. You never know. We might persuade him. He's not.
He doesn't like it.
That's
doesn't like it now.
No, it's great. So anyway, you were introduced, and this was then the start of the magic. Can the Can, 1973, all of a sudden projected, number one, you're glorious everywhere. How did that make you feel?
It made me feel satisfied that my hard work had paid off and that I had gotten to where I wanted to go. Happy. I didn't get carried away with it because I was brought up in the business. So it's, You know, I didn't get into the business to be famous. I got into business to play music. So I was just happy, happy. My dream came true. Proved
And it was,
everybody
I mean,
wrong.
and everywhere, I mean, well, Australia in particular and the UK, phenomenal. It worked on that sort of basis. In the US, we'll come on to in a bit, but the principle there was that also gave rise then to the change in your image. And as I understand it, Mickey, you were very determined. You've always been very determined, always get your way, never let somebody take your soul. You were absolutely certain you wanted to have leather, but it was Mickey as the sort of compromise, if you like, even though I didn't do, well, we'll put it in that sort of hot pants thing. Is that the right story?
You know, I said leather, 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 leather. And he's kept saying, no, we were discouraged. And I said, I have to wear leather. And he said, okay, okay, okay. And then he said, what about a jumpsuit? And I said, great. And the funniest part of that is me and my naivety. I just thought it was a sensible suggestion because I'm a very energetic performer. And with the jumpsuit, everything stays in one place. No idea it was going to be sexy. I had no idea, which is probably why it was. Because you don't see me being sexy. It's kind of cute in a way. So when we got the pictures back from the first session and I saw me in the jumpsuit, I kind of went, oh, oh dear. I better go to confession.
Well, yes, your mother would have found that extraordinary. What did she think?
My mother, she did a great line. I took her to 74, this was, and we were playing Detroit. So my first time back with my English band, I have some hits. So, you know, the girl comes home successful. And I took my parents in a limousine to the gig, downtown Detroit. We were supported by Blue Oyster Cult and Kiss. I was a
I
headliner.
know, it's glorious. Gene Simmons would have never, he loves it. It's kind
Amazing.
of support act for Suzi
I know.
Quatro.
It's great. So we were riding home in the limousine, and I was in the back seat. My mom was in the front. And I'll never forget it. I said, Mom, how did you like the show? And she said, well, Susan, it was very nice, but do you have to stand with your legs so far apart? She had some great lines. She was a one-off, I tell you.
A real
I said,
joke.
yes, I did, actually, Mom. Yeah.
Well, the other thing that happened as well, which was revolutionary at the time, was you and your star tattoo, which your father was not too happy about.
I have a butterfly on my ankle and a star here. I did this when I was quite young, before it became fashionable.
Well, the star was when you were quite young. The butterfly was after your divorce, wasn't it? And you wrote a song about
the butterfly was from the divorce. But I had a tulip on my shoulder and a star here, both done it. So I think it must have been about 18, 19. And I'd come home from this trip where I'd had it done, and I had on a T-shirt, and I was washing my face. And my dad came up, and he went, oh, get that silly decal off your shoulder. And he went like this. I'm washing my face going, any second now, he's going to realize. And he said, you didn't permanently disfigure yourself. I said, I did. Oh, he didn't like that. He didn't like it.
It was, and it's always interesting, isn't it? Because that's the other thing that people try and do. They always want, the most important people are actually the ones who will keep you grounded. It's the family who keep you grounded. Because all this adoration, I mean, you've been performing, you say Kiss with your support act. You worked with the biggest and the best, and you're doing huge places. Russia, you've got zillions of people there. I think you were breaking all sorts of records all over the place, weren't you? But the people who kept you grounded were your family.
Feet on the ground at all times. I never got carried away with it. Never. And I often talk about this. I didn't grow up as with looks in my arsenal. It just not part of me. You know, so now I can look back and see some pictures. Finally, at the age of 7, you go, hey, that's not bad looking. But not in my arsenal. So because I was never told I look good. So how great is that I became a pinup for many, many men. And because it wasn't part of my arsenal, I never took it serious.
Right.
Can you imagine becoming that and knowing that you're great? That if you had that attitude, it would turn your head. Turn your head.
Often, Suzi, don't you? And a lot of people who believe their own hype. Sometimes, and they get to the top. And very, very few. You're one of the very, very few people who've just managed to carry on for 50 plus years. So often people have their big moment and then disappear, and they burn out because they believe their own hype.
You shouldn't do that. At the end of the day, I am my book is in two people, as you know, little Susie from Detroit and Suzi Quatro.
Yeah.
And I have the ego room.
I know.
In a room.
I love the ego room. It's brilliant. All the awards in there, including the red book.
You can go in there and then you come out and you shut the door. This is how I live my life. And you got to do that.
But I love the sign. Not only do you say ego room, but you also say mind your head. Which
it is good, isn't it? And you do go in there and you do watch it and look, and it's quite something.
Yeah.
And I have a big red book. This is your life. I think, God, it is. Every space is covered. And then you come out and you shut the door. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I mean, I'll take my applause. I'll take my compliments for the show, for the songs, for whatever. But it's not that. It's just thank you. I'm humbled by it, you know?
And that's what's so refreshing about it, because it's keeping it real. Because so many people, as you say, they have this veneer, and you'll have this. It's so often in the theatre, you'll have the tragedy and the comedy mask, and that's the reality of everybody. If you prick me, do I not bleed? If you tickle me, do I not laugh? You know, we're all the same underneath it. So understanding that is really, really important. And the other joy, apart from the music, was, you talked about 1977, an extraordinary year, apart from the loss of Elvis in that year as well. Happy Days, as you say, and it coincided. Tell us about that, because it wasn't, as you previously told it, there were three of you up for it. There was Debbie Harry.
No, actually only two. Joan was
okay.
But Debbie, and it just wasn't her, you know. And then my publicist suggested me.
Yes.
And then the lady went home and saw my picture on the cover of Rolling Stone in her daughter's bedroom, because she had a big thing of all the covers, and she said, that's who I want. And then they got a hold of me. Yeah, that was a great decision I took.
Oh, what a role! Gary Marshall, wasn't it? Because the way Gary tells it, it was his daughter had a poster of you in his bed, and he said, "That's the one who's going to play this glorious role." Yeah. I love it. Because Joan, I understand that Joan Jett's name was in the frame at some stage, and some people mentioned Debbie and things like that. But it was I
don't think Joan's name was even in the frame yet. She wouldn't have been even popular then. Right. She was just beginning in her band, but Debbie's was mentioned. Yeah, Joan's in my video, you know, in my documentary. Yeah. She sent me recently a gold record of hers with my name on it.
Oh, brilliant. I know we love all that sort of stuff. But Happy Days itself, what a glorious role. And I think, one of my favorite ones is when you're sort of out of character, if you were, like when you're Ralph Mouth, going on that date with him, when you come out as a different character, because you basically, from going this wonderful leather all the way through, and it was that sort of prom night date, wasn't it?
It was, and the director said to me, this particular episode is very important for you as an actress. He said, you're not singing, you're not being leather, and you have to really act. And I did a good job on that one. Really good job. Yeah, that was really fun. I love acting anyway, but it was nice to... Here's a funny story about that. There's a scene in that episode where I come to the Cunningham house, and I walk in, and I talk to Marion and tell her I need to become a lady, you know? And the original scene had me walking from the door to where Marion's mark was, to where she was standing, and I had dialogue coming along. So then when I got to her, it was, I need to become a woman. That's what I said. And they said, a little bit long this episode, we're cutting that bit of dialogue, open the door and get straight to Marion and say your line. So they took all my motivation away. So I had to do it in the walk. So I kept walking in, saying my line, walking in, and he said, it's not working. I said, wait a minute, give me one more shot at this. Knocked on the door. Then I walked a certain way, just a certain way. And then I got up to her and I went, I need to become a woman. The director said, perfect, what did you do? I said, I imitated Joan Jett imitating me. I don't know where that came from.
Brilliant.
But I've seen her walk, and I thought, that's what you think I walk like. So I did it. You know, like an exaggerate. And he said perfect, because in that attitude walk, I was doing the dialogue. Without saying the dialogue, right. I was doing the dialogue, yes. So that was good of me to think of that.
Oh, brilliant. So was that one of your favorite episodes as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's fantastic. And working with Henry Winkler, he's actually quite a serious guy, isn't he?
Very serious. We're still good friends. I'm still in email contact with him all the time, and Ron Howard. Henry's a lovely guy. He's a sweetheart, but he's serious. He's serious. Ron is just lovable.
Right.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. We do political emails all the time.
What?
What do you think of this? I don't know. What do you think of this?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is the perfect time for doing political emails, isn't it?
Oh, we did the whole Trump thing and then the Biden thing. You know, my God, I was sending him a sentence and he does. You know,
I do think they've missed a trick with the Joe Biden during the campaign, because in such a divided world, when we're disagreeing on all sorts of things, Joe Biden, as you probably realize, is an anagram of be joined.
Really? That's good.
See, I would have used that for the campaign. See, it's good. You can suggest it to Ron next time you're doing it. Be joined, which should have been Joe Biden. The other thing which I quite liked as a campaign slogan would be Biden, Biden.
That's good.
We love it. We love it.
You've been trumped.
Absolutely. Top Trump, that's an instruction.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But no, be very careful. Extraordinary. But you were offered then the success of Happy Days and great cast and all that sort of happy memories, as they say. Gary Marshall, as legend would have it, offered you a sequel, if you like, a spin-off for your own. Is that right?
They did, but like I see, I don't like to be boxed in at all. I won't be. That's why I've done so many things. And I thought 3 seasons was enough to be La the Tuscadero. That was enough. And I was proved right, because I went on to do a lot of other different roles. I'm not known for just that. At West End, and I've done Minder and Ab Fab.
And he gets your gun. Fantastic.
Oh, I loved that. Absolutely loved that. What a honor. Even the songs, when I was learning this score, I just going, wow, one good song after the other. Fantastic role to play. Loved it.
So is it that diverse? I mean, looking back, trying to dissect the real Suzi Quatro, is it that diversity?
One sec.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How much longer do you need? Because I got another one soon.
Oh, okay. No, well, we can. How long? 5 minutes? Is that good? 10 minutes?
10 minutes is fine.
10 minutes is fine. Be wonderful. Okay, we can always resume another day as well. It's always good stuff. We've only just done the 70s. We've got the rest of the world to go. No, I love it. But I'll tell you what we'll do, and we will resume another day as well. But what I love is just deconstructing Suzi Quatro, having a look. It is that diversity, but it's also that honesty and the integrity. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. That is fair to say. And I take that as a great compliment. The 3 words I use to describe myself are creative, communicator, and entertainer. And I'm always honest. I'm always honest. I just am. What's the point of not being honest?
And I think you've seen all of that when you had the split, if you like, when you had the difficulty with Mickey Most and Chapman and that sort of stuff, because you actually signed to Chapman for a little while. And I know Mickey Most and your relationship with him was very, very close, but there was a period of time when you wouldn't talk.
No, he was upset. He was very upset. But eventually, he came here with his wife. They stayed overnight. And I sat at the table and I told him why I did what I did. And he got it. He said, okay. I said, Mike said he wasn't going to work with anybody other than people on his label. Come on, Mickey, he's my producer. And he writes the hits. So Mickey got it. And we remained close and it was fine. But I was his little find, that was not nice for him to lose me. But he didn't lose me.
But it was like family, because he discovered you and everything else. But as you say, he didn't really understand the real Suzi Quatro.
He didn't know what I was recording-wise. He made one album with me, Agoraphobia, and he couldn't. Mickey never got my edge. Yeah. Mike Chapman got my edge. Yeah. Mike Chapman understood me in the studio. Yeah. Mickey understood me as a person.
Yeah. I mean, incredible. 3 last things then in the nanoseconds divided for us. A phenomenal career, over half a century of glorious stuff, diversity all the way through. I think we've unraveled a lot of the real Suzi Quatro. I think there's a lot of synergy there, which we've known each other for a little while, looking at that sort of side. What has been your biggest regret?
I only have one, because I don't believe in regrets. I think everything happens for a reason. But when my mother was ready to go, and I'd been over maybe 6 or 7 times, even flying there and then flying back for a gig. So I'd done my bit. But just as she got real close to the end, I said to Mickey, I don't know if I can see my mother this way. And I should go because she's going to be dying soon. And Mickey said, don't go. And I said, why? And he said, because you can't take it. And so I didn't go. And I do regret that. And when Mickey was going to pass on, his daughter Natalie said to him, shouldn't we give Suzi a run? And he said, no, she can't take it. So I wish I'd gone. I do. I wrote Mickey a song called I Never Got to Say Goodbye. Beautiful song. But yeah, I think my mom, even though we talked on the phone, I think she would have liked it if I was there. She said she understood, but apparently she looked awful, and I didn't want to see her that way.
Was Mickey wrong? Do you think you could have taken it?
I don't know. Maybe he's right. He knew me pretty good. Maybe that would have haunted me for the rest of my days. Maybe. And what I can remember is the last time I saw her alive, which was meant just for me. She was having the big football of cancer removed to make her more comfortable. And everybody, the whole family was there, and they were all crying, and they were wheeling her into the operating theater. So she was, on the thing like that. And everybody was crying, and then the whole family moved off. And for some reason, I hung back. So my mother was ready to be wheeled in, and I was here. And just before they took her into the theater, her arms were shaking, and I thought, what's she doing? And she went like this, to make her cheeks red. So she looked good for the doctor. I'm the only one that saw that. That was my parting picture of my mom. And what a nice ending picture to have of her doing. She was vain, doing that. Oh, bless her. Yeah. So I wish I'd gone.
Yeah, I get that. And your proudest moment? So many proud moments. What has been your proudest?
God, so many. I guess when I was finally able to have a baby, I went through a lot. I didn't get pregnant easy. I had miscarriages, and I finally managed to have a baby. There I am, a bass playing rock and roll star, and I couldn't have a baby. I kept saying I'm a failure, but yeah, I think that was pretty proud. I actually gave birth to a baby.
Laura, 1982, followed by Richard in 1984. We almost saw him. And finally, then I'll let you, because you're doing a whole string of these, and we will get you back, because I love talking to you, and it's brilliant and so good. How would you, Suzi Quatro, like to be remembered?
With honesty and with affection and with integrity. That's how I like to be remembered. I'm full of compassion. I have all the time in the world for people in general. I love to, if they need me, I'm there. I have so many people call me for advice. I give good advice. Yeah, honestly, I'd like to be remembered that I was honest. I was honest. That's the whole thing for me, the truth.
The truth is there.
Painful as it may be.
Warts and all, as you say. Suzi, it's been an absolute pleasure seeing you again. Thank you so much for all of your time.
And thank you.
I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So thank you again to my very special guest, Suzi Quatro. Don't forget, The Devil in Me is available now, a brilliant track written from the heart. If you would like to be a guest or have any comments on any aspects of the show, write to me at guests@octopustv.com. That's guests@octopustv.com. Don't forget, you can follow me at Andrew Eborn @octopustv and subscribe on all the usual channels.